Hey everybody, this is the fourth video in the series I'm doing called How Life Works on experiential physiology. Hopefully it'll make physiology a little easier to understand. So today's video is on the digestive system using carbohydrate digestion as an example. I talked a little bit before on oxygen and how we need oxygen because just like a fire needs oxygen to burn the fuel, we need oxygen to burn the fuel in our cells. And most of our cells in our body depend on a steady, regulated stream of carbohydrate broken down into glucose. And so I thought I'd talk a little bit about that today. So if we think about the things we eat and we think about what our body uses for fuel, it's not controversial. I know maybe in the diet world, what we should be eating is controversial, but if you look at cell physiology, it's very clear that we use carbohydrate as our primary fuel source, and then a little bit reluctantly we'll use fats, and then very reluctantly our body will turn to protein only as a last resort. So let's look at carbohydrate digestion. So it first starts in the mouth. So we eat something like a grain, like wheat or rice, or a vegetable starch like sweet potatoes, yams, squash, something like that, a starchy vegetable or a starchy grain. And then that actually starts right in our mouth with something called salivary amylase. Amylase, it's an enzyme that will break down those starch molecules, start to break them down into little sugar molecules, glucose molecules. So it starts in the mouth, we swallow that, it goes down to the stomach where it stops for a while because the stomach is very acidic, wants to kind of kill everything off. And so that's going to interfere with the starch digestion for a little while until it moves out of the stomach into the first part of the small intestine, the duodenum or duodenum, where the pancreas will come in with its pancreatic amylase, and it'll send that through its little tube into that area of the small intestine and further break down the carbohydrate. And then it's going to continue that through the intestine until we get until it gets finished with that, and then it ultimately will go through as little tiny glucose molecules into the microvilli, into that brush border of the small intestines, into the cells, into the bloodstream. Where does it go from there? Well, from the bloodstream, it goes directly into the liver, and the liver is going to deal with it. And the liver is going to store it as glycogen. So it's stored either in the liver, built back up into starch molecules in the liver, or in the muscle tissue itself as glycogen. So our body is kind of taking the starch, we break it down into little sugar molecules, we send it through the bloodstream, and then we build it back up into starch molecules either in the liver or in our muscle tissue, where we can again break it down whenever our body is low on carbohydrate. So that's how that works. And of course, it's regulated by all the other systems in our body, especially the endocrine system. And when you get to the endocrine system, you'll learn a lot about glucose metabolism and regulation.